friends. I'm Jenica Hill. Welcome to my channel, which is all about celebrating and embracing your full magical self. I have with me a very special guest, Missy, my very good friend and a talented actress here in town. Welcome.
That's very sweet.
Well, it's true. Cheers.
Cheers.
Coffee and bubbly. Missy is a very important woman in my life because she helped me process my discovery of being bisexual, or my, I guess, embracing it, because she has a very similar story. So I really want to have her on to celebrate Pride. Happy Pride!
Happy Pride!
Yes! Tell everyone what your shirt says.
Love always. And the bi-colors.
Yeah. Cute. I have the
I
Human
see.
Rights Campaign gave me a swag
That's awesome.
thing because I upped my monthly donation. First question.
Yes.
What does it mean to you to be your full magical self?
I think probably it means to me to live as truthfully as possible, because I spent so many years sort of with layers on top of me.
Yeah.
You know, just all these layers that you have to like strip away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's just to live really honestly with myself, which in turn makes me live more honestly with other people.
Yeah.
And sort of like make that a jumping off point, which, you know, is good for creativity and all other things.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I love that. Yeah, great answer. So speaking of, because, you know, you have such a similar story to me and helped me so much, why don't you share with everybody kind of your, I guess, coming out story, or like your journey. What was it like for you discovering that you were bisexual, or accepting it, I guess?
Yeah, our stories are very similar except for the 20-year difference.
Right. Right.
So I guess, I don't know how far back to go, but when I was growing up, there was no, bisexuality wasn't a word at all. It was either gay or lesbian, but I didn't even really know any lesbians. There was probably a couple of gay young men when I went to high school, but and the lesbians that you heard of were just ridiculed. So there was no place in between.
Right.
So I think, and I grew up in a very religious, with a really fundamentalist religious home. And so I sort of thought of myself, I think, as a straight girl that sinned.
Wow.
Which was
Oh,
really not great.
I feel like I felt like a heavy thing fall on me when you said that.
Which is incredibly damaging to anyone as a human.
Yeah.
But because I was attracted to men, I was okay in a way, because I was attracted to men, so that was fine, and it was just this thing that would pop up, and I would just push it down and pray and do all the things and hope that it would just go away at some point.
Yeah.
Which it never did.
Right.
And when I was younger, I can remember feeling misunderstood as far as how I connected to women. Like I connected in a I don't want to say, I can't speak for anybody else, but it felt like people didn't understand how I connected to women. That they thought it was too intense. Like my friendships in high school felt, the women that I loved, even though I wasn't accepting it as any sort of sexual thing at the time, that they were just different. Like I just connected in a different way. And a lot of people pushed me away because of that.
Interesting. Like it was just too intense.
It was just intense.
Interesting.
So the women that I that I sort of fell for tended to be older and more safe and more understanding, sort of. But then, when I was about, I want to say about 28, not to go into like a deep detail about it, but I pulled away from religion completely. Not spirituality, but religion.
Right.
And doing that sort of released myself from feeling ashamed of myself. But I still lived in the world where I was married. I had 2 young children. You can't be bisexual. You can't. I didn't even know how to even. What do you do with that? So I tried to explore it in like little different ways by sort of expressing, like woman crush and stuff like that.
Oh my gosh, we all know about that phrase.
While hoping someone would see it.
Okay.
Like someone would say it to me, or someone would recognize it in me. And I lived in suburbia with a lot of what seemed like all straight couples.
Right. Who knows what's really good.
Right. I also didn't want to lose my husband, who I'm fiercely in love with and fiercely protective of my relationship to him.
I feel like that's such a common thread between us. It's like we found our person, and our person happens to be male.
Right. Exactly.
That we wanted to spend our lives with.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But doing that felt like I had to hide a part of myself.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to lose that. So I spent a lot of years. Let's see, if you go from 28 to 43, it's a long time.
Yeah,
25 years. But I felt I was more free with myself as far as fantasizing, not feeling like I was going to go to hell or feeling ashamed of myself.
Like after around 28
Yeah.
to 43 when you came out,
Yes.
you felt more free
With
yourself. Yeah, okay.
And then most of my shame after that was actually not being out. Like feeling so much fear and going, you should not be afraid. You should come out. And it took some life experiences that I had, some people that I met, some that I met like in my 30s, some that I met later in my 40s. And getting sober helped a lot. I say helped, but I couldn't drink it away anymore.
Right.
But mostly it became, after all these experiences happened, it became fundamentally about I love my husband, and what's the point in living a life if he doesn't know this massive part of me, like this huge part of me. And I was terrified to tell him. Terrified. But I did. It's the best thing that I ever did.
Because how long have you been married before you told him?
20 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And now he's like the most supportive dude ever.
He's amazing.
He's like the best.
He's the ally of
I
all
can
allies.
attest. Yeah, he's the best.
He is the best.
Yeah.
He is. He lets me be fully out. Which is fantastic. It's very freeing.
But it was a journey for you too, right? I mean, I know a lot of people who watch are like struggling with maybe telling their partner, or they've told them but they're too afraid to like come out because they don't want to affect them in a way. So it's been a process for you, right?
Yeah, and even after I came out, there was a whole period of time for a couple of years where I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how to be visibly, like I didn't know how to be bisexual,
Yeah.
like out in the world, and it felt like I couldn't get there.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't get out enough.
Out enough. That's so interesting.
And I struggled with it like a lot. And I think Jeff was like, but I see you.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that all that matters? Like, which is, to a point, what was a big part of why I did it. But not the only, a lot of the reason I did it is because I had not been my full self for so long. I didn't know what that meant. What does that mean for the rest of my life? To be bisexual and to be with a man? Or am I going to be with a man and a woman someday? I don't know. Like, all of these questions start popping up in your head.
Yeah.
And it's a truly, it's a struggle. It's a challenge to move through all those emotions. I cried a lot for like the first 2 years that I was out. And then it settles and you start talking to people and people start asking you questions and you just feel slowly more visible, you know. And, you know, my daughter came out, so it became more, you know, of a family thing, even though they were like, to Jeff, they were like, Dad, how did you not know? So, yeah, I mean, it's a process.
Yeah.
Are you still going through that process?
I mean, I think we've come to a place where we're pretty good with it, but the process, it was a process, and it still probably will be. I think when new things come up, they come up, and then we like talk about it, and you just communicate, you know?
I meant more personally.
Oh, for me, I feel pretty like settled in it. I think because I talk about it so much here, it helps me process, but I think too, like being pregnant and going through like, oh, we're in a white room because I'm moving, doing all of that, like, I think it just is distracting me from it, you know, like it was so intense at first. And with COVID, not being around anybody sort of helped quell the intensity because, you know, I'm not around anyone. So it's like just me and my partner having a great time. Yeah. So then I didn't feel as intense about it. But I think becoming a mom has been a thing that I think about. I talked about it on my channel, like, I don't want to be put back in the closet because it's like, you know, being a mom and married to a cis straight man and people see you as straight. And, you know, so it's like, I think I panicked and it came out in different ways. Like I was very against, like announcing that I'm pregnant and all the cutesy things that come with it. And I think it really was wrapped up in just not wanting to
be invisible.
Be invisible and be part of that, I guess, heteronormative sort of structure. And so I think that's going to be a process still, you know. So, but I'm very excited to raise a child knowing myself so well. Yeah. It's like such a gift, you know? Yes. And it's such a gift, I feel like, for your girls, for you to be out and, you know?
I wish I had been out earlier, you know, I would, but, you know, there's something you can do about that.
What's maybe something you just wish would change about the way people who are bi are seen and treated?
I think bisexuality is such a spectrum.
Right.
Such a huge spectrum. And even I think within the bisexual community, there's some, it's the way I am bisexual is the way that people are bisexual.
Yeah, interesting.
Because you and I have talked about just like attraction, and you know it's hard to pinpoint attraction because you know it's very fluid. But after I came out, I sort of realized all the stuff that I had not been addressing is the fact that I'm way more sexually attracted to women than men, but my person is a man, so it doesn't really matter.
Right.
I think a lot of people think of bisexuality as like 50-50.
Right. Yes.
And it's really not like that, I don't think. Like for
for everyone.
Not for everyone, and I think it's fluid. Even when I say I'm more attracted sexually, physically to women than men, there's obviously been times that's not been true. It's still, but you know, if I had to look at it in that in that way. That's how I would think of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fluid,
Totally.
I think. And so that's like, I wish people understood that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, you know, yeah, like that people, it's not one thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is hard to explain to people. I've had conversations with, I know one of my dearest friends is bisexual and she was married to a man for many, many years and she's with a woman now. I would say she relates better now to women than she did when she was younger. So that changed.
Mm. Interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think there's a lot of stigma with being bisexual, and it makes me afraid sometimes to like bring it up in certain circles.
Yeah.
I make myself do it anyway.
Good for you. Well, that was going to be my next question. You said something about, you know, you didn't feel out enough for a while. So how do you continually be out? Like, how do you celebrate?
I do this.
Talk with people about it.
I talk with people about it, and you know, it helps to have Jeff completely go for it.
Yeah.
He talks about me even at work. You know, it's not hidden in any way.
Mm.
He's which is very helpful to have a partner that supports that.
Yes.
So I'm really grateful for that. That helps it a lot. I just try to celebrate that part of myself as much as I can. I went so many years without celebrating it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like, oh, you're talking about your bisexuality again. Stop talking about it. You know, sometimes I'm like, I talk about it too much, but it's given me a lot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's given me a lot. It's made me feel whole.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah, I get that. And it's so interesting because I do think people talk about being straight all the time. Like people talk about being attracted to people all the time. Like it's just part of normal conversation.
Right.
So sometimes I feel the same way where I'm like, oh, I'm bringing it up a lot. That's not all that I am, you know. But I should be allowed to talk about it just as much as any straight person, and not be accused of talking about it all the time, you know.
Right.
But is there anybody in your life who like ignores it?
My parents.
Family.
I sent an email to my dad about it years ago.
Yeah.
He said, well, if that's the kind of lifestyle you want to lead, I was like, I don't even know how to respond to that. My dad loves me, but his response is still, you know, very fundamentalist, you know, religious person.
Yeah.
Is, well, I don't know if what God's going to do. I don't know if God's going to forgive you. And I'm like, what you're telling me is that you think there's something wrong with me. And so that bridge will never be, you know, we're never going to. So we do the best we can.
Yeah.
But really, it's just family. Everybody else, like all of my friends, are very supportive. Even high school friends that I thought might kind of be like, what? They're totally great about it because I think they see that I am great about it. Like I feel good. Like you know. And also now, as we get older, everybody knows someone that is gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, you know, the visibility of the younger people coming out is really, really helped people like me.
Yes. Yes. It's like trailblazers before us, and then now these trailblazers after us.
Yes.
Yeah. I know, I talk about Gen Z all the time, because I'm like, I stan you. I love you so much. Because it's just, you go on TikTok or whatever, and
they give zero.
Yeah. It's amazing, and I love it. Yeah. I think it did help that I came out around this time when it was so accepted, because I think honestly, people who maybe didn't accept it probably didn't feel like they could say so.
Yeah.
Because the majority of people were so loving that it was like, well, I would look like a total jerk if I said anything else, you know?
Right.
Some people said things to me like, I don't care, you know? And I was like, well, that's
That's not the same.
yeah. Like, I don't care who you're attracted to. It doesn't matter to me. I'm like, well, it matters to me. That's why
And if you're my friend, it should matter to you.
Yeah. No friend. It was mostly family that said things like that. And I think for them, it's like a generational thing too, where you think that's like the thing you should say, or it's nice, you know?
Yeah.
You don't realize that it's like a microaggression.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
But that's fear.
Totally.
That's just people with fear. And I had it too.
Yeah.
I try to hold space for that until it just becomes, not a microaggression, full aggression.
Right.
And then I don't have time or space for it. But I try to hold space for that.
Yeah.
Everybody's
Everybody's in a different place, and sometimes when you don't know, you don't know. So you
Yeah.
gotta give people a minute sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, and as far as my dad, he now has two granddaughters actually. My stepsister's daughter is in a same-sex relationship as well. So, it's almost like the thing you're resisting.
Persistent.
It's going to keep coming up, and you're going to have to address it.
Yeah.
Because he's a very loving person.
Yeah.
It's just, people are afraid. I was afraid for a long, long time.
Yeah. Some things still scare me, I still get fear around things sometimes. One last thing. I know a lot of people who watch my channel are bisexual and either are newly out or are afraid to come out, and some are not bisexual but are trying to come out with other identities. But what's something you would say to someone who's struggling right now with it? Just not doesn't have to be advice, but maybe just comfort.
Just where you are is where you are.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's okay. I think about, a lot of people say, oh, you should be out, you'll feel more, you'll feel better about yourself, but that's not necessarily true.
Mm-hmm.
Your journey is your journey.
Yeah.
You gotta be where you're at. And even though, like when you said, I'm so happy that I'm where I am before I have a child, like to be out before, I can't beat myself up about not having been there.
Right.
And being sober has helped that as well. You go, oh, I wish I had been sober, but you can't. I was where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
So to love yourself where you're at, and when you find someone you trust, to trust yourself, and just to love yourself.
Yeah.
Loving yourself is what's gonna like get you further in your journey than anything else. Just loving yourself and knowing that you're not anywhere different than where you need to be right now.
I love that. Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I was on a love myself journey before I could recognize my bisexuality. And when like 1 year, my word of the year was worthy. And when I went through that year, then I was like, oh, I'm bisexual. It's like, oh, it's so interesting. Anyway, yeah, thank you so much.
I love you.
I love you too. Oh, and find yourself a great mentor. If you have one, they're the best. So. Okay, well, that's it. Subscribe.
Subscribe.